Bulma was left processing what she had just heard from the two Saiyans. According to them, a woman, apparently from the future, who looked an awful lot like her, and Kakarot had even mistook her for her, and then told them about two future android creeps who planned to cause mayhem in exactly 3 years' time, and that it had something to do with Dr. Gero. Had Bulma never met Raditz and had just found the Dragon Balls back in the day on her own, and that was that, she would have most likely just written off the entire event as complete and utter make-believe. But that never happened. She had learnt throughout her life that the most outlandish things that would go down in this life would tend to be the most plausible. The crazier, the more viable the result was. Bulla walked in, her Bulla, as her mother was left thinking about this. "Hey Mom, what's bothering you?" She turned to face her daughter and then just stared for what seemed like hours. The younger of the two teal-haired lasses was starting to feel a little uncomfortable. "Not bad, huh?" she said, trying to ease the tension between them. Bulma slowly slunk off her chair and took a closer look at her Bulla's eyes, studying them closely. "Sweetie," she said carefully, "you met that future lady, right?" "Yep, she was real nice. We got on instantly. We just got each other, you know?" Now, in a normal situation, Bulma would have felt reassured by this astute judgment of moral character from this future lady, but instead, this made her only feel worse. "My God," she muttered, before heading over to her emergency drinks cabinet and necking a couple of scotches. Bulla was just left confused, before just shrugging it all off and going off to play some more. Bulma had figured out the identity of the future lass, and now was agonizing over the impending doom that would be temporal paradoxes that may darken their doorway. So as Bulma was going through a profound existential crisis, her husband and brother-in-law had arrived at the vicinity of North City's mountain range, the supposed location of Dr. Gero. Raditz had wanted to go in and completely decimate the entire region like he had done with the Red Ribbon headquarters back in the day, get it over and done with within seconds and be home in time for tea, having saved the future from a certain perilous outcome. "Bro, come on. I know you want to get this over with, but this would be reckless, even for you. Think of the animals and such. What did they do to deserve such a fate? You can't just go wiping it all out, an entire ecosystem." Raditz hated it when Kakarot brought up wildlife. Dang it! He was taught, as a young Saiyan, to disregard potential concerns and worries of collateral damage whilst out on missions. Because if you worried about it, you get nothing done, and then you'd be useless. Sometimes Raditz's old days and teachings would come back to haunt him in that regard. "You're right, brother. Softly, softly." This time, they spent the next hour gingerly looking around for any glaring oddities, and soon enough, eventually stumbled upon a cavernous hole halfway up the cliff face, which looked a little weird from the norm, and of course, the metallic door didn't help. Aha! This looked like a mad scientist's lab according to what Raditz had seen in his movies. "How do we do this? Go in together?" Raditz shook his head. "Nah, that's exactly what this guy would expect us to do. I got a better idea. It's more fun for us." He leant in and whispered to explain his plan to his brother, making sure his lips were covered. He'd seen a movie where that was actually the downfall of the two main characters. And then they flew apart from each other to enact it. Yes, indeed. His suspicions and paranoia were correct. He had been spotted by cameras. The good doctor had seen these two people on his monitor from inside the lab, hovering in midair. He spat out his drink. "What? How is that possible? I told nobody in my secret laboratory!" He watched the monitor closely, watching what they were doing, but then sighed with relief when he saw the pair of them flying away in separate directions. And especially good since the scanners on the security system recognized the taller of the two beings being Raditz, the one that had utterly, completely destroyed the Red Ribbon compound ages ago. Gero winced when he recalled this memory, and decided to hurry up the missionification of his good person, just in case.
I must hasten the process. If I leave it any longer, I will be powerless to counter any potential threat. I know it's me getting the better of myself, but how could they possibly know of my plans? But it's a good thing that those Saiyans are so moronic to the extreme. They were right under my nose and still failed to see the wood through the trees.
He then turned to his clownbot assistant, which he had just completed building the other day, and it proved to be quite useful and strong.
19. Prepare the conversion device. We must speed up our plans at once.
However, Android 19 was sort of ignoring his master, and instead was looking at the direction of the wall behind them.
Scanners detect abnormal seismic activity nearby.
An earthquake? Right now? Oh, great. As if I hadn't enough problems to deal with.
But that was no earthquake. The wall, directly opposite the front door, exploded, sending debris, rock, and electronics flying all across the lab, destroying precious equipment. Out of the dust cloud emerged the same two beings that Gero had witnessed on the cameras just a few minutes earlier.
Hey, hey! Said Raditz with a menacing grin.
Gero was horrified.
How? That was 200 feet of solid granite and carbon steel!
Anything's a door if you're strong enough.
That doesn't make any sense! We know what you're up to, Gero! I thought I destroyed all that was left of the Red Ribbon Army all those years ago. Guess I missed a spot.
They both looked over at Android 19, and the two brothers weren't impressed. Why was Bando scared of that? You call that a terrifying android? Said Kakarot with derision.
The only thing that thing will be instilling fear in will be small children. And after we're done with you, Gero, you'll be kidding yourself in thinking that you stood any chance against us.
Kakarot gave Raditz a look as if to say, yeah, okay, that's enough of the quips. Gero cursed under his breath and had no intention of engaging in words or dialogue with these two.
19, get them!
He had a good feeling that 19 would be enough to stop these two. Especially in this scenario, he had more extensive research than in the original, and he knew about Super Saiyan. However,
battle preparation applications are running at 60% efficiency. Direct engagement is not recommended at this time.
Overruled! Do it!
Gero was now getting so desperate, he was even ignoring his robotic assistant's genuinely accurate assessment. In a normal situation, he wouldn't be going in all guns blazing, he would escape. Sure, he had made this android more powerful than it was in the original, but it wasn't ready for direct confrontations, but he didn't even care. And so 19 charged into battle, right in front of the Doctor, and was actually something that the brothers had to take seriously. This robot wasn't something that could easily be swatted away like they thought they could be.
Okay, the old man's done his homework.
He was also perplexed as to what those two red dots were on the clown's hands, but he would soon find out. So, keen to get this over with, Raditz powered up to Super Saiyan and turned the tables on the fight in their favor. But Gero? Oh, he wasn't worried, he smirked.
Oh, what a cocky fool you are. 19? Why don't you be a sport and give him a hug?
Our protocol has not been tested. I'll come inconclusive, Doctor.
I don't care. Just do it. Sometimes experiments must be done on the battlefield. And in anger.
And boy was he angry. So 19 proceeded to hug Raditz tightly. The Saiyan was very bemused by this gesture. He had not seen this coming. The fighting ceased as Raditz was trying to extricate himself from the robot's grip. But it was proving to be more difficult than he had anticipated.
Commencing energy drain.
What? Energy drain? Oh, the only thing you're draining, android, is my pace.
Raditz suddenly felt a little tired, woozy.
Bro, what's going on? I don't know, Kakarot. I suddenly feel really tired.
19's face contorted itself into a smile as Raditz grew weaker and weaker.
Yes! What an ironic twist of fate we find ourselves in. Through a simple hug, your fate has been sealed.
The flow of energy was a lot faster in this timeline than it was in the original story, because having to deal with Super Saiyan, you obviously got to be more efficient. And Raditz was almost ready, in fact, to pass out. But then 19's initial assessment came back to bite him on his very substantial bum. The drain malfunctioned. Something twigged it, and then reversed itself. Instead of Raditz being drained at this moment, it was instead giving him energy, fueling him. So all of the energy that he had lost was returning to him, and then more than what he had before. Raditz was being, in fact, supercharged. In seconds, Raditz released himself from the clutches of 19's grip and was now hovering in midair, glowing incessantly. His eyes had whited out, and his Super Saiyan state had returned to him. In actuality, Kakarot could swear that he felt something odd about his brother's power. This was no ordinary Super Saiyan. Like, his brother was on the cusp of breaking through the boundaries of said transformation. The traditional Super Saiyan was being tested. It was remarkable. Gero was distraught. His plan had failed. He wasn't an android, and his supposedly brilliant assistant was now without arms and malfunctioning intensely. He looked to his other pods, which contained androids unbeknownst to the two Saiyans. The ones marked 17 and 18 were ready to go, but he spurned them. His pride wouldn't allow it.
No, I will not allow myself to stoop to those.
He then turned to the pod labeled 16 and sighed.
No, not you.
Super Raditz looked down at the android and evilly grinned.
Now, which vital organ of yours is the off switch,
From behind, Kakarot punched a hole through 19's stomach. This one?
No, Kakarot, not that. I think we need to check a little closer.
And then the pair proceeded to rip the robot to shreds. Gero had no choice. He had to destroy the lab. He activated the self-destruction sequence, but before he could input the final code to get it going, Raditz just simply sniped the Doctor in the heart from the other side of the room, ending him instantly. At least in this timeline, he gets to keep his head. Raditz sighed and powered down, his body still tingling from the thrill of that excess energy.
Wow, this must be what Bulma feels like after a morning coffee.
Kakarot was mesmerized by what he had seen. They had thought that Super Saiyan, what they were used to, was the limit, that was it. But what Gero had gifted them was the enticing prospect that no, there was a means to go even further beyond. So now though, Raditz contacted Bulma to come over to the lab and check out what potential things could be salvaged. He was aware that to destroy anything now without asking her would be a waste of resources, and she would definitely be mad at him. Granted, Gero wasn't as good or as smart or as able as his wife, of course, I mean, no, but it couldn't hurt to have a shifty for stuff. Besides, the 3 pods scattered about the room looked kind of interesting. If they were robots, Bulma might want to check them out. Sure enough, she did. She thanked the boys for not blowing the place up, as usual, and decided to actually take a closer look at, indeed, the pods marked 16, 17 and 18. With the help of Raditz and Kakarot, because they could lift, the trio loaded up her transporter with as much stuff as she could actually take out quite easily, including the 3 pods, and were ready to head back to Capsule Corp. As they were flying away, Raditz opened the back door.
Wait, Bulma. May I? Oh, come on, I've been awfully good.
Bulma looked at the lab, which was slowly shrinking away behind them. Go on then.
Yes!
Pumped Raditz, and he wasted the remainder of Gero's lab, leaving nothing left. Or did he? Questions for later. As Bulma passed herself through all of Gero's collected stuff, Raditz and Kakarot were talking about what the former had gone through.
It was amazing, brother. I felt so strong. That idiotic doctor gave me so much energy to play with. I thought Cold was dumb, but this guy, he takes the cake.
Raditz, that dumb Doc's given us something to aim for again. There may be a way of ascending beyond Super Saiyan. If we can just train some more, and harder than ever, we might be able to reach that form you showed without needing a jolt from a robot anymore. What do you say? When that future lady comes back, let's show her what we learned. Something cool.
Then we can train her how to use it. Then she can kick those android asses in the future, what for?
Yeah, it'd be our way of saying thanks.
They both gripped the vials of medicine tightly and intended to use them, regardless of the fact that they'd won out already. Bulma then got to the intel of the pods marked 17 and 18. 16, yeah, fair enough, regular robot, but these 2 were mostly organic. Bulma was flabbergasted. What had Gero done to these poor kids? From what she could tell, they were only teenagers. What was she gonna do? She couldn't... For now, no. The best thing that she could do was to place these 3 androids in storage. She was not ready to deal with the consequences right now. It wasn't the time to make any rash decisions about something so heinous and wrong. Besides, there were other things from Gero's lab to look at to distract herself from the cruel theses that were forming in her head. Not to mention all the stuff that she had found out about that Bando lady. Now speaking of Bando, 3 years later, Future Bulla had indeed arrived back in the past to check on things and to see what she could do to help. She landed at a Membo Island, expecting the androids to be in full swing and the entire island ablaze. But she saw nothing. The island was peaceful. What? Had she got the dates wrong? She went back to a time machine to check. Nope, right day and time. So she pocketed said machine and decided to head analog to West City. Maybe time travel had affected the starting point of something. Maybe West City was under attack. But she couldn't sense any active energies. Everything was fine. It was just like a regular day. Both Raditz and Kakarot were there to greet her, like they'd seen her coming. They appeared to be in good nick too. No trace of illness or looking fatigued. Okay, she allowed herself to smile. Whatever was going on here, at least they had taken her advice about the heart medication seriously. Raditz hailed Future Bulla, but still referred to her as Bando, not aware of her true identity.
Hey, Bando! You made it! What do you think?
What do I think? About what? She said slowly.
We stopped the androids! Earth's safe!
Well, how'd you do that? Did you find them already?
She said with a more hastened tone.
Well, you were so useful in telling us ahead of time that we chose not to wait around. We found Gero's lab and wasted him and his androids before we could let them loose.
Bulla's eyes bulged out of her sockets, and her bandana slipped off her head, revealing her entire hair. Wow. She had not expected these 2 full-blooded Saiyans to put their pride aside, wanting a good fight, and to be sneaky like that. But then she thought about it some more. Oh yeah. Yeah, this would be something he'd do had he known about things ahead of time. Hey, oh well, she done good.
I guess I ain't needed after all. Well, I suppose I may as well go home and tell the others.
Raditz placed a hand on her shoulder.
You ain't going anywhere, missy. Do you expect us not to thank you for your warning? For you to just leave like that?
Kakarot placed a hand on her other shoulder.
We want to pay it forward. Up for some training before you go? We found out something really cool and want to show you.
Bando was stunned. What could they possibly want to show her?
Come on, Bando. Surely you've got plenty of time, he said with a wry smirk.
He pointed up to the sky and implying the lookout. They were going to be busy. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now.